What? Ah, I'm just here reveling in the fact that I got 1,000 subscribers. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. So I'm just sitting here grinning. Now, what better way to celebrate than to pull apart some Kevin Parker, some Tame Impala. Watchers of my channel will know how much I adore this guy, his songwriting and his performing and his production above all. Incredible production. Anyway, last year he released a new album and I think the lead single was It Might Be Time. And I loved it from the first time I heard it. It's just got fantastic chords. So, you know, it's a pretty keyboardy song, but it'd be a great one to cover on guitar. So let's have a look at it. So look, the job's not over. I still need you to subscribe, please, and give me a like. And if you like anything I'm doing here, please feel free to share it. I'd love it if you shared the link to my YouTube clip somewhere else. That'd be wonderful. All right, let's get on with it. So first things first, it's in D. It's in the key of D major, and it's got this great intro that just sounds like, I don't know, a throwback to yacht rock. It sounds like a Doobie Brothers chord or something. I don't even know what to call it. This is what it sounds like to me. This is as close as I can get to sounding like this chord without layering things. So it's like that. So what I'm doing there is painful. I've got the first finger barring the 5th fret there on the bottom 3 strings. I've got my second finger all the way up here on the 9th, then my 3rd on the 10th and 4th on the 10th. So that is like a little, what's that, a G triad or something? Yeah. So that's a G triad and that's an A minor triad, but it's a D chord. It sounds like a D11, D suspended 13 or something like that. It's definitely got the 13 in there. You know, an easier way to do it would be to just play. So 5, 5, 5, open, open. That sounds pretty close. But what does that sound like? It sounds like this. So Dave Grohl thought of it first, but Kevin then turned it into something sweet. But anyway, give that chord a try. I've got fairly small hands, but I can reach it, so you can do it. That's like a Larry Carlton chord, that one. Anyway, let's not get hung up on the first 4 bars, because that's all it is. So then the verse progression comes in. D major 7 for a bar and a half, then C major 7, G major 7, F sharp minor 7. Now 3 of those chords are in the key of D. But the C major 7 is not. Do we want to talk about that yet? I don't know if we want to talk about that yet. Okay, then the second pass, back to the D for only 2 beats, then a bar of C major 7 up to E flat major 7, then 2 beats of G major 7 to F sharp minor 7. So the shapes that I'm using there, I'm using a standard, you know, what's that? That's 5, 7, 6, 7, and 5 on the bottom if you want. So that's a D major 7. It's a standard major 7 shape based on an A major 7 there, moved up. So I'm using that for my D, my C, and my E flat. Then down here, I'm going with this one for the G major 7. So that's 3rd, skip a string, 4, 4, 3. And my favorite minor 7 shape, 2, skip a string, 2, 2, 2. Okay, that's your verse chords. But, you know, what makes them sound so unreal and dreamy and clever is the fact that there's little modulations throughout that. So our first 2 chords, you know, there is no key that features 2 major 7th chords a whole step apart. There's no, and you know that straight up because there's a D note, there's its major 7, there's a C note, there's its major 7. Find me the scale, the diatonic scale that's got that in it. All right, let's move on. So the way I would play this to emulate the sound of the keyboards is either with pick and fingers, or let's just dice the pick. So just pumping that bass note along while the chord rings, like the left hand on the keys is doing in the song. Second part. So you'll notice there's some interesting bar lengths in this one. That second part has it starts with a 2/4 bar is the way I would count it. On the D, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then another 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 2 bars of 2/4, which would tempt you to go, well, let's just add those together and keep counting 4/4. But then the changes from chord to chord all fall mid-bar, which seems a little bit awkward. After we've done that verse through a couple of times, then we've got those great keyboard chords for the chorus. It might be time to face it. Now the last chord in this, so these chords, this is my favourite bit. I just love the sound of that progression. It's a D major 7, C sharp minor 7, then C major 7, then a G major 7, then an F sharp minor 7. And then there's a last chord after that, which at first sounds like a G sharp minor 7 for 2 beats. But then I could hear the 4th in it, and I think I've settled on using that. If I was doing this live, that's what I'd be doing. But I'm sure at a later point of the song, it becomes what is that? A minor 7 flat 5, a G sharp minor 7 flat 5. It might be time to face it. Sounds too jazzy here and now, but there's definitely a point in the song where that chord's got that D note on top as a flat 5. Yeah, so look, they're mainly the 2 parts, but I think this would be an awesome song to cover with a band, because at that point you could kick in some full-on fuzz, and instead of playing those little voicings, gent. Let's gent in there. It might be time. I don't know what I'm doing. What would we do were we to improvise over this? Well, there's a few different ways to look at it, but perhaps the simplest way, which was taught by a great man that I used to work alongside every day, and he taught me so much music theory. G'day, John, if you're watching. Was don't overthink this stuff. Just look for what you've got to change. What's the minimal change from where you already are? So where I already am is the key of D. So what's in a C major 7, and are those notes in a D chord? I mean in a D scale. Well, no, C natural is not. So there's one difference. E is the 3rd of C major 7, well, that's the 2nd of D, that's there. G is the 4th in D, that's fine. And the major 7th in C is the B, which is the 6th in D. So we've only got one note that we've got to change. So if we just keep that in mind when that C major 7 chord comes up, we should be able to improvise fairly safely using our standard D major patterns. You could almost think of that as a D7 going to a G. That simplifies it. So we all cope with that sort of thing all the time, playing lines in D. You can start introducing more notes, little jazz passing tones. Anyway, that's the first part. Then, as I said, the second part So the last two chords are the same. The first chord's the same. It's just, it goes up to this E flat major 7. So that's obviously a world away from our parent key that we're starting off in, of D major, E flat major. So there's no E flat in the key of D. There's G, there's no B flat. There's a D, yeah. What I think of with this one, if ever you hear a major chord go up a minor third, you can almost think of it as that major chord going to a minor, which usually resolves down a fourth or up a fifth, whichever way you want to say it. So that sounds really natural, and if you listen to it in terms of that, it's got the same sound to it. So it's almost like a substituted jazz 2/5 progression. Your C major 7 in place of your A minor 7, your E flat major 7 in place of your D altered, and your G major 7. So you could definitely play some jazzy lines over that one. So look, another way to think about improvising over complex progressions like this is you find the parent keys, and then, you know, every parent key has 3 minor pentatonics in it, because every parent key has 3 minor chords. So the key of C has A minor, D minor, and E minor. So that means the notes in the A minor pentatonic, the D minor pentatonic, and the E minor pentatonic are all from the C major scale. So I could use any of those 3 to improvise over C major chord progression. Okay, so what I'm getting at here is we start off thinking where we might be in the key of D. Well, D has 3 minors, like every major key does: E minor, F sharp minor, and B minor. So remember those: E pentatonic, F sharp pentatonic, B pentatonic. Now, C major 7. Well, there's only 2 keys that a major 7 chord can be in. It can be in that key, C, or it could be the 4th of another key. So it would be the 4th of G major. So G major has the 3 minors: A minor, B minor, and E minor. Whoa, hang on. E minor and B minor, didn't we already have those 2 in D? So you're telling me that I could improvise with the B minor pentatonic over all of those chords and nothing's going to clash, or the E minor pentatonic. Yeah, so there's your starting points to play over that, the start of that verse. Of course, once it gets to the E flat major 7, well, I can tell you I've already done the math, and there's no one pentatonic that's going to get you out of trouble. There's no get out of jail free card to cope with that sucker. But, you know, you could say, well, there's not far to move, because let's say we're using the B minor pentatonic to improvise over the rest of the progression. E flat, F, C minor. So we could just move 1 fret up while we're playing over that chord. That's one way of coping with it. Another way is just to be aware and use your ear, so that when that change comes around, wherever you are, you move appropriately. You go a semitone up or down, or you bend to a note that's in that chord or isn't going to clash with that chord. So yeah, there's using your ear, and there's using a little bit of theory and preparing yourself. Yeah, but it's really good fun. It's a great progression to have a play around with and try and improvise over. Maybe we should have a little bit of fun with it. I might just play that verse through a few times. of fun. Alright, thanks guys. And look out on Instagram, The Real Danny Eddy, because I'm doing a weekly series there on my favourite run. My favourite run this week, and they're all sent in by wonderful guitarists around the world for us to have some fun with. Cheers.